The alternate timeline extended cut of Return of the Living Dead, the Louisville Event, 1985. In 1985, the world witnessed a punk rock apocalypse. But what if the version we knew wasn't the only one that made it through? This is not a remake, not a fan edit, not even a lost reel. This is a resonance capture, a pulled transmission from a real alternate timeline where the story bled darker, longer, and stranger. In this variant, the trioxin spread wider. The butterflies moved. And Ernie's past was not what it seemed. What you are about to see and hear is the true first phase of the return. Send More Paramedics was only the beginning. Return of the Living Dead, the Louisville Event, 1985. Alternate timeline, ROTLD-EV1-Omega. Point of divergence, May 1984. Dan O'Bannon, influenced by a private correspondence with George Romero and a rare viewing of Threads, BBC, commits to a bleaker tone with minimal slapstick and a focus on government horror and memory collapse. Studio executives allow more creative control after Alien's residual success sways their confidence. Summary: black satire is emphasized over comedy. Trioxin gas is treated as a Cold War weapon of mass extermination. Ending remains nuclear, but the tone is more haunting than comedic. Freddy and Frank's arcs are tragic, not absurd. More tension on the military's disregard for human life. Distinct scenes, echo only. The butterfly incident. Before venturing into the basement with Tarman, there is a haunting scene. Tina is surrounded by undead butterflies, which soon begin trying to plug up her nostrils and her mouth as she spits, hacks, and pulls them away with her hands, soon crumbling them up in her hands like paper. Soon after, she notices the pinned butterflies on the wall, with a few still left, trying violently to tear themselves away. Scene breakdown. Flickering fluorescence in the hallway starts strobing as Tina hears a strange fluttering sound. She enters the lab area where pinned butterflies, previously dead, are now twitching violently on the wall. Loose butterflies, animated by trioxin vapor in the air, attack her face, trying to plug her mouth and nose, in a suffocating reflex mimicking zombification by asphyxiation. Her desperate swatting turns into a paper-like crunching. The butterflies crumble like ash or charred paper when grabbed, disintegrating as if already dead again. A final shot. One pinned butterfly rips itself free, only to fall dead on the floor. The trioxin effect, in this variant, is unstable. Ernie's final stand, extended. The mortician Ernie doesn't flee. After giving Tina his .357 revolver, he carefully prepares a body with ceremonial markings, whispering a Kaddish prayer. In this variant, he's a Holocaust survivor, not a secret Nazi war criminal. As the zombies burst in, he plays Beethoven and motions for Tina to flee, and lights a gas line, joining the flames. The body laid out belongs to Scuzz. In this timeline's cut, Scuzz died heroically in the chapel battle while protecting others, making the ritual a moment of grief and atonement. Scene breakdown. Tina, trembling, is handed the revolver by Ernie. He gives her a look that says, "You've survived worse." She doesn't yet understand. He lays out a body, Scuzz, and carefully etches a Magen David, Star of David, and Hebrew letters across the corpse's sternum. As zombie silhouettes pound against the frosted glass, Ernie recites Kaddish under his breath, his hands shaking. This isn't religious piety, it's generational trauma. He opens the valve to the embalming room gas line, walks to the wall, and begins playing Beethoven's Seventh Symphony, the Allegretto, on a warped phonograph. He takes one last glance at Tina, mouths, "Go," and steps into the shadows as the flames consume the lab. In this timeline's script rewrite, January 1984 draft F Echo, producer Graham Henderson insisted Ernie be rewritten as a Holocaust survivor, citing the score's emotional dissonance and missed opportunity to pay tribute. This choice was abandoned in our timeline due to studio pushback, considered too heavy for a horror comedy. But in the Echo cut, it's revered. Radio tower intercept. A local DJ picks up military broadcasts caught between laughter and screams. The phrase, "Try 7 protocol failed, execute Omega burn," loops repeatedly, implying other cities had previous outbreaks. Government intercept montage. Military command listens to intercepted 911 calls as civilians scream for help. A similar scene occurs later in the film with a haunting visual. Half the screen shows punk kids trying to escape. The other half shows command approving the bomb. The cemetery dream loop. Freddy collapses and dreams of lying in the same grave over and over. Each version of him is in a different stage of decay. When he awakens, his eyes are already clouded. In this timeline variant, an expanded budget allowed for better FX. Budget expansions allowed all original gags and gore to play out at full length. Expanded FX elements. Split dog redux. Instead of a single twitching dog torso, there's a sequence where Frank tries to put it down with a fire axe, only for it to growl, emit a high-pitched shriek, and drag itself across the floor trailing pink ooze. Fully animatronic, with spine-twisting realism. Tarman eruption scene. After melting his first victim, suicide, Tarman emerges further into the warehouse, dripping acid-like slime that dissolves shelves, cardboard boxes, even rats. He looks less like a man in a suit, more like a liquefying humanoid. Puppet layering enhances his deteriorating muscle tissue. Skeleton rise sequences. The infamous graveyard scene is doubled in length. Not only do full skeletons claw out, but there's a one-shot pan where decomposed hands rip through caskets, camera spinning 360 degrees while a punk track blares. Every skeletal form is stop-motion rigged for unique movement style. No duplication. Maggot-Face redux. A second basement ghoul, not Tarman, vomits worms onto Spider, then explodes open in a practical FX one-take. Fan-favorite scare moment, heavily merchandised in Echo 89 era. This maggot-filled corpse in the basement vomits worms onto Spider, who tries to wipe them off, screaming. A hydraulic gutburst rig explodes live on camera. First take only. In the Echo Cut timeline, this Maggot-Face zombie is an entirely separate, briefly seen, undead entity that coexists with Tarman in the basement, but emerges later as trioxin seepage expands. Scene breakdown. Maggot-Face redux. After Tarman's first encounter and Tina's escape up the stairs, Spider and Suicide return to rescue her. As they descend, a groaning corpse half sunken into the wet floor of the basement lurches upright. Its head is half collapsed and filled with living maggots, some crawling through eye sockets. Just as Spider raises a crowbar, the corpse vomits a stream of worms and black bile across his chest and face. In a practical FX highlight, the chest of the zombie suddenly explodes open. A hydraulic burst rig hidden beneath a foam latex ribcage sends viscera and worms flying onto the camera lens. Behind the scenes, Echo Cut commentary. This was a first and only take shot because the mechanical rig misfired slightly, rupturing too early and spewing so much offal that it shorted out a light grid and flooded the set floor. Actor Miguel Nunez Jr., Spider, was actually screaming due to real worms crawling into his mouth during filming. Cultural impact in the Echo timeline. This scene became known in that world as the gut puke moment, a punk horror parallel to Alien's chestburster. The creature is dubbed Maggot-Face in fan circles and later featured in bootleg action figure sets, often mistaken for Tarman, but distinguished by its collapsed jaw and maggot cavities. There was even a spin-off 8-page comic zine printed in Fangoria Echo number 76 titled Maggot-Face, the Basement Screamer, which explored its pre-death backstory, a sewer worker exposed to a punctured runoff trioxin barrel weeks before the events of the film. Resin Blood FX, military gas test victims shown in a brief cutaway melting from the inside. Practical resin pump prosthetics show translucent layers of their throats and lungs before they scream. It's horrifying. Extended Send More Paramedics sequence, a full 3-minute set piece of undead intelligence with disturbing implications. Full scene breakdown, paramedic arrival. Take 2. After the first team is slaughtered, a second ambulance arrives. The lead paramedic spots the van empty, blood smears on the windshield, and tries to radio dispatch. Lurking zombies use decoys. The zombies have rearranged the bodies of the first crew into a standing pose, helmets on, as bait. The second crew approaches slowly, until one of the bodies falls and the rest leap out from the dark. It's a trap. Radio distortion scene. Just before the attack, a garbled voice breaks through the radio. Dispatch. It's all inside us now. Don't come. This voice turns out to be the first crew, partially animated by trioxin and trying to warn the second team. Deeply unsettling. Intelligent kill coordination. One zombie drives the ambulance, poorly, swerving into a group of survivors in the street. It's played as a slow, relentless thing, not slapstick. Punchline reframed. After the second team dies, another call goes out from the ambulance's dispatch unit. Send more paramedics, but now the voice is deeper, digitally warped, and accompanied by a growing cluster of undead figures listening to the radio. As if they're learning. Trioxin rainfall, final sequence. As the bomb detonates, the camera lingers not on the explosion, but on silent rainfall hitting children's umbrellas in another town. A dog barks at an empty field, and the soil breathes once. The bombing sequence is shown from space, revealing trioxin particles entering the upper atmosphere. While the bomb detonated, the trioxin survived. It becomes part of the rain, air, and even memory. Epilogue, post-bomb voiceover. A distorted emergency broadcast plays over empty cityscapes, while trioxin rain begins anew. A final line of dialogue is whispered over black screen. You can't kill what remembers you. Lost soundtrack. Forbidden vinyl cuts. Includes punk and deathrock tracks from the early 80s that were cut here due to licensing. Restored tracks and their use. When the Flesh Cracks. 45 Grave. Plays during the graveyard resurrection scene. The guitars are warped and discordant. A sonic mirror to the earth tearing open. Shot timing is synced to the beat. Graveyard Eyes. Community FK. Used during the warehouse flashlight sequence. Low droning synths and whispered lyrics add unease, replaced with stock cues in our timeline. No Resurrection. Red Wedding. Plays during Frank's self-cremation scene. Gives the moment ritualistic finality. The vocals echo like a funeral chant. Ashes and Needles. Christian Death. Roz Williams era. Plays over the ending credits after the nuke. The lyrics are about memory loss, fire, and false salvation, matching the film's cynical tone. Mutant Regret. The Naked and the Dead. This obscure NYC deathrock track is buried in the audio mix during the montage of the military preparing to launch the bomb. Sirens and drums build with it. These songs were never officially licensed for public use in our timeline, due to label collapses and legal disputes. But in the Echo Cut, they define the film's cult reputation. Fan bootlegs of this cut soundtrack circulate even in the timeline periphery zones. This was the first flame of the trioxin divergence, but not the last. The Echo Cut of Return of the Living Dead Part 1 is only one shard of a wider timeline, where each sequel took a different path. Deeper, stranger, and sometimes truer. In the next phase, we'll dive into Part 2, where continuity is preserved, tone rebalanced, and the dark humor sharpened to a blade. If you felt it, the shiver, the memory, the flicker behind your screen, you're already infected. There's always a signal. There's always a witness. And there's always a world worth remembering.